Ain is an orphan loser who wants to play basketball with Kobe because of his useless job as a garbage collector, but his life changes when he meets a busty elf who falls in love with him and helps him turn into a Sigma your mother would call Big Daddy. In the beginning, Ain is with his party consisting of Zoid, the swordsman, and Jolene, the wizard, where they defeat a giant rat while Ain only watches. They treat Ain horribly for his job because he is a low commoner, and he doesn't fight back at all but follows their orders like a good slave instead. In this trash world they live in, people are assigned a job by the light goddess and skill by the dark goddess, and while they are able to train their skills, they are stuck with whatever job they get. Jobs are divided into 3 ranks: rare class, which consists of wealthy merchants; high commoner, which consists of combatants; and lastly, low commoner, which consists of bums like Ain. With his parents dead, Ain was forced to start his life both poor and unlucky, but he dreams of one day becoming rich. Ain uses his appraisal skill to detect that the rat has D-ranked front teeth that are valuable, but when he asks his party for help, they beat him up and order this low-class bum to do it himself. They state that his bum ass should be grateful for them protecting him, so Ain starts glazing their majesty and pulls out the teeth himself using his bare hands. While Ain hated the way he was treated, he could do nothing but rummage through corpses, and it's all because of his doo-doo job as an appraiser. Just then, they find another corpse, this time a hellhound, which is a high-rank monster, and while Ain has a bad feeling about this, his party orders him to appraise the corpse so they can sell it for money. They find even more dead hellhounds, which leads to another path, and while both Zoid and Jolene are excited to secure the bag, Ain warns them that it might potentially lead them to danger. They don't care and demand that Ain choose between joining them in going deeper to make money or leaving the party, and because it's extremely difficult for Ain to join a party due to his job, he decides to obey them like a puppy and follows them. When they go deeper, they find loads of hellhound corpses, but before they can enjoy this jackpot, they see that in the distance is a group of hungry hellhounds who were responsible for the dead hellhounds they found. The party realizes that they're screwed, but not wanting to die, both Zoid and Jolene decide to sacrifice Ain. Jolene casts a paralyzing spell on him while Zoid screams at the hellhounds, telling them that Ain tastes delicious. They run away, leaving Ain behind to die, and seeing this fresh meat, the hellhounds feast on Ain. However, their bites cause the spell to become weak, so Ain takes this chance to smack the hounds with a rock, throw his baggage at them, and run away despite his wounds, wanting to survive. He runs to a dead end after his old party members block off his path. He goes in another direction, and there he finds himself cornered facing a cliff. Ain realizes that to move forward he will get fall damage, and moving backward, he will become a kebab. He recites to himself that when the abyss stares at you, don't blink. Ain laughs at it, realizing that for his whole life, he has been a useless loser who didn't even get to taste some sweet cheeks. However, unlike how his job got chosen for him, he decides to choose his own fate and jumps off the cliff to go to a Michael Jackson concert. He ends up on the bottom, bleeding and unconscious, but the anime gods choose him to get some plore armor and send a plotful elf girl to give Ain a kiss on the forehead. Then he wakes up and is surprised to see that all his wounds are healed. When he goes to look for the reason, he finds that he is sitting under the tree of Yggdrasil, which drops S-ranked magical water that heals any wounds. For centuries, adventurers have been looking for this tree after it disappeared off the surface, and Ain can't believe that he finds it deep in the dungeon. He thanks the tree for saving him, and he suddenly hears sweet happy noises which surprises him, but he chooses to ignore them. With this second chance in life, he goes back to the dungeon to restart his life as a new man, but this time he promises to become a Sigma Chad that claps monsters, and it starts by escaping this dungeon. He realizes that he will face stronger monsters, but he picks up a rock and is determined to survive. Hours later, he feels relieved to not face any monsters, but the plot gods give him the guts treatment and his ear and fingers are suddenly cut off. Ain starts panicking, not knowing what hit him, so he uses his appraisal skill and sees that an S-rank gremlin is the one responsible. The gremlin starts playing Fruit Ninja on Ain, leaving him heavily wounded, but before it delivers the final blow, something else stops it from doing so. It turns out to be an S-rank death bear that makes the gremlin look weak.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
The bear blinds Ain by clawing one of his eyes out. The bear grabs Ain, which crushes his bones and goes to eat him. But before it gets to do that, a girl saves Ain, saying how the elf forced her to do this. Later, Ain wakes up with his wounds healed again, and he is in front of the Yggdrasil again. But this time, the busty elf presents herself in front of him. Ain folds to her beautiful looks paired with her milky jugs, and the elf smiles at him. While Ain is getting lost in this elf sauce, a midget, Ursula, pops up and scolds him for staring too long instead of drinking the tea. The busty elf, Yuri, shyly hands him the tea, and when Ain hesitates, Ursula force feeds the tea onto Anne. He expresses how tasty it tastes and how he wishes he gets to mix it with Yuri's milkies, but Ursula threatens to cut off his willy if he tries anything stupid. Then Ursula explains that they are the ones who saved him and that Yuri was the one who begged Ursula to save him from the monsters. Ursula demands Ain to go on his knees and lick Yuri's feet to show his gratitude, which most men would gladly do, but when Ain thanks Yuri, Ursula scolds him for being formal with her daughter. It surprises Ain to see that they are mother and daughter, and Ursula explains that she is the guardian of this tree, Yggdrasil. She adds that there are 9 Yggdrasil in existence, and that each one needs a guardian to survive. He then asks about Yuri, and Ursula explains that Yuri is the spirit of the Yggdrasil itself. He rizzes Yuri for looking pretty, and Ursula threatens to gouge his eyes out. It reminds Ain of how he got his eyes slashed by the bear, and Ursula explains that she regenerated it and gave Anne a spirit's prosthetic eye, all because Yuri asked her to. Ain asks Yuri the reason why he is saved, and Yuri expresses how touched she was when he treated her kindly. Ursula reveals that other people have been saved before, but unlike Ain, they were all ungrateful and even took advantage of Yuri by taking branches from the tree after knowing its ability to heal. Ain thanks Yuri once more for saving her, and it almost causes her to malfunction. So Ursula demands that Ain leave the area before Yuri asks for his babies. Knowing how weak he really is, Yuri begs Ursula to do something to help Ain from getting clapped by monsters. Yuri informs them that as a guardian, she can't go too far from the tree and escort him. Yuri starts crying, and not being able to see her daughter cry, Ursula folds and agrees to train Ain to get strong enough to leave the dungeon. Yuri hugs her mother out of happiness, but now knowing that he can get out alive, Ain hugs them both out of gratefulness. Ursula warns him that as the greatest mage there is, she won't hold back, and Ain thanks her for the chance. Then they enter the dungeon, and Ursula points to a dark hallway, telling Ain that there's where they will train. Ain tells her that he can't see anything, and Ursula orders him to use his new spirit eye. Ain closes his eyes, and what he sees is total darkness until he sees Yuri, who saved him, and becomes his light. When he opens his eyes back up, he sees that the hallway is now bright and that he is ready to undergo his training. Ursula wakes up the same S-ranked gremlin that took Ain's ear and orders Ain to train himself to dodge its attacks. While Ain hesitates, Ursula informs him that using his skill, appraisal with a spirit's eye, is different. He tries doing it and succeeds, but still gets his ear chopped off, so Ursula creates a barrier around them and heals them using Yuri's healing water. With this, Ursula informs Ain that they can train as long as they need, not caring how many injuries Ain endured. Ain tries using his skill again, and this time he can see both where and when the gremlin attacks. Using this newfound skill, Ain manages to dodge its attack, but he gets too excited and gets himself stabbed over and over again, while Ursula watches this idiot suffer. However, Ain sees this as his chance to change his life, and he is determined to stop at nothing to get it. A week passes since they started training, and using his appraisal skill, Ain manages to master dodging the gremlin's attacks, but still gets hit due to his foolishness. Ursula creates another barrier, heals him, and informs him that after he learns how to dodge, it's now time to learn how to attack. She hands him a wooden sword made from the wood of Yggdrasil and out of Yuri's pain, and orders Ain to use it correctly. He starts his attack training, and he uses his skill to detect the gremlin's movement to counter. But being slower than your fat mom, Ain misses his attack. He tries again with a different strategy, but still fails to hit his target. Ursula scolds him for using his skill sparingly, and after hearing this, Ain activates his overpowered MC ability and uses super appraisal. It slows down time completely, and with this new godlike power, Ain easily smacks the gremlin's head and defeats it. He starts celebrating his victory, but Ursula tells him that it's only his first and that he should fight the rest of the gremlins. After defeating all the gremlins, she tells him that, as his next training, he has to use his appraisal skill and acquire the gremlin's skill. While he hesitates at first, Ursula assures him that the spirit eyes boost his abilities more than the normal eye, even his appraisal skill. Ain gives it a try, and he starts screaming in pain as he's receiving all the information about the gremlin's abilities. She orders Ain to test it out, and when he does, he starts running faster than your dad when he's getting some milk, but quickly tears all of his leg muscles. Ursula heals him and orders him to keep running and tears his muscle thousands of times so he can physically use it. After mastering the gremlin's speed while annoyed, Ursula tells him to appraise her skills, and when he asks what they are, she burns him with a fireball. Ursula informs him that her abilities are fireball and cancel chant, the ability to cast spells without chanting them. Ain then appraises them while getting himself burned to a crisp, and after getting healed, he trains using them. Because his mana storage is smaller than your willies, he has to keep using them, collapse, and get healed by Yuri over and over again to increase his mana storage. After a month of training, he is able to not only summon thousands of fireballs, but also other spells. Ursula declares him to be ready and offers him a revenge match against the bear. When they confront it, Ain hesitates out of his trauma against the bear, but Ursula assures him that with his training, he can clap this bear like he's Yogi Bear. In his mind, Ain sees himself to have grown from the limp willy loser who got bullied by others, and he confronts the bear with a full chest. He starts by using Fireball to distract him, Super Speed to get close, and Super Appraisal to slow down time before using wind attacks on Winnie the Pooh. It only manages to deal minimal damage, but Ain knows that he needs to do more, so he spams fireballs to the bear like how I spam missionary with your mama. The bar falls from the fire damage, and Ain realizes that unlike before, he has gotten so much stronger. Comment down below, Busty Elves, if you finished the video. Next week we will be back with a new recap of the latest episode. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.